What if everything you thought you knew about marriage in Africa was only part of the story? Long before churches, colonial governments, and modern wedding ceremonies, African societies had their own sophisticated systems of marriage. These unions were not simply about two people falling in love. Marriage was the foundation of kingdoms, villages, trade networks, diplomacy, family honor, and even survival itself. Across Africa's thousands of cultures, marriage could unite clans, prevent wars, secure alliances, preserve ancestral traditions, and ensure that future generations would inherit not just land but identity. Some customs may seem surprising today. Others might sound remarkably modern. Tonight, we're uncovering the forgotten world of African marriage before colonial influence reshaped much of the continent. Welcome to African Tales Arising. If you love discovering Africa's hidden history, subscribe and join us as we bring the continent's untold stories back to life. Now, let's travel back hundreds even thousands of years. Marriage was never just about two people. In many parts of ancient Africa, marriage was considered the joining of two entire families. When a young man wished to marry, he rarely approached the woman directly. Instead, his family would meet her relatives. These meetings could last for days. Everyone discussed the character of both families. Were they hardworking? Were they honest? Did they honor their ancestors? Did they have a history of conflict? Marriage was seen as too important to leave entirely to individual emotions. A successful marriage strengthened entire communities. A failed one could create conflicts lasting generations. Love existed, but it wasn't the only foundation. Many people assume ancient African marriages were always arranged. The truth is much more fascinating. Love certainly existed. Songs, poems, dances, and oral traditions celebrate romance throughout Africa's history. Young men often courted women through music, storytelling, wrestling competitions, farming ability, hunting skill, or artistic talent. Among some communities, young women quietly observed potential husbands for years before agreeing to marriage. Parents advised. Families negotiated. The personal attraction still mattered in many societies. Love and family responsibility often worked together rather than against each other. Bride wealth, a symbol of respect. One of the most misunderstood African traditions is bride wealth. Many outsiders wrongly describe it as buying a wife. That was not its purpose. Bride wealth represented gratitude. The groom's family acknowledged the years of care invested by the bride's parents. Payments varied greatly. They could include cattle, goats, iron tools, salt, cloth, cowrie shells, gold, or agricultural products. The wealth demonstrated that the groom could provide for a household. Importantly, the woman herself was never considered property. She remained deeply connected to her own family throughout her life. If conflicts arose, both families helped resolve them. Marriage created lifelong partnerships between clans. Courtship was filled with creativity. Across Africa, courtship could be incredibly beautiful. Young men composed songs. Women answered with songs of their own. Dance festivals allowed young people to meet under community supervision. Storytelling evenings encouraged conversation. Harvest celebrations often became opportunities for romance. Some young men carved beautiful wooden gifts. Others demonstrated courage by hunting dangerous animals or excelling in wrestling competitions. Character mattered. Generosity mattered. Kindness mattered. Physical strength alone rarely guaranteed a successful marriage. Contrary to many stereotypes, women exercised considerable authority in many African societies. Mothers advised chiefs. Queens ruled kingdoms. Female elders settled disputes. Married women controlled marketplaces. Some inherited wealth. Others owned farms. In many communities, wives managed household finances while husbands focused on agriculture, trade, or warfare. A wise husband ignored his wife's advice at his own risk. Historical accounts repeatedly describe powerful women whose voices shaped political decisions. Marriage often elevated women's influence rather than reducing it. Polygamy was more complex than many imagine. Polygamy existed in numerous African societies. But it was governed by rules and responsibilities. A man who married multiple wives had to provide equally for each household. Failure brought public criticism. Senior wives often supervised family organization. Each wife usually maintained her own house, farmland, and children. In agricultural societies, Larger families increased food production. In times of war, disease, or high male mortality, polygamy also helped support widows and children. It was not simply about wealth or status. Its purpose differed greatly between communities. Marriage ceremonies lasted for days. African weddings were community celebrations. Villages danced together. Drums echoed across valleys. Praise singers celebrated both families. Food was shared freely. Elders offered blessings. Children played. Ancestors were remembered through prayers and rituals. Some ceremonies lasted several days. Others extended for an entire week. Every song carried meaning. Every dance told a story. Marriage marked the beginning of a new chapter not only for the couple but for everyone connected to them. Elders protected marriages. Marriage did not end with the wedding. Elders remained involved throughout the couple's lives. When disagreements arose, the couple rarely separated immediately. Instead, respected family members mediated. They listened carefully. Both husband and wife explained their concerns. Solutions focused on restoring harmony. Divorce existed in many societies, but reconciliation was usually attempted first. Community stability depended upon healthy families. Fertility was celebrated, not demanded. Children were deeply valued. They carried family names, inherited traditions, remembered ancestors, protected parents during old age. However, many African cultures understood that fertility rested beyond human control. Women who struggled to conceive were often supported through rituals, prayers, herbal medicine, and family encouragement. Adoption also existed in numerous societies. Children born within extended families frequently grew up across multiple households. Family extended far beyond biological parents. Marriage created political alliances. Royal marriages shaped African history. Kings strengthened alliances through carefully arranged unions. These marriages prevented wars, opened trade routes, created peace between neighboring kingdoms. Entire empires sometimes depended upon successful royal marriages. Behind magnificent ceremonies stood complex diplomacy. Marriage became one of history's most effective peace agreements. Different regions, different traditions. Africa has always been incredibly diverse. The Maasai emphasized cattle. The Akan celebrated family inheritance. The Yoruba developed elaborate engagement ceremonies. The Zulu practiced detailed bride negotiations. The Somali valued poetry during courtship. The Ethiopians blended ancient traditions with religious ceremonies. The Swahili combined African customs with Indian Ocean influences. No single African marriage tradition represented the entire continent. Its diversity remains one of Africa's greatest strengths. Colonialism changed everything. Beginning in the 19th century, colonial governments introduced European legal systems and Christian marriage traditions across many regions. Missionaries discouraged or outlawed numerous indigenous customs. Colonial courts often failed to recognize traditional marriages. Practices that had united communities for centuries were suddenly labeled illegal or uncivilized. Yet many African families quietly preserved their traditions. Even today, countless weddings blend ancient customs with modern ceremonies. The past continues to live within the present. What modern Africa still preserves. Across Africa today, families still negotiate marriages. Bride wealth continues in many communities. Traditional clothing remains central to ceremonies. Drums still announce celebrations. Elders still bless couples. Ancestors are still remembered. Although cities have modernized wedding traditions, ancient values continue beneath the surface. Respect, community, family, responsibility. These principles have survived generations of change. Lessons the world can learn. Ancient African marriage reminds us that lasting relationships rarely depend on romance alone. They require community, respect, shared responsibility. Patience, commitment. Strong families build strong societies. That wisdom remains as relevant today as it was centuries ago. Perhaps the greatest lesson is this: marriage was never viewed as a private contract. It was a promise made before families, communities, ancestors, and future generations. Every wedding represented hope. Hope that traditions would continue. Hope that children would flourish. Hope that peace would endure. Africa's marriage traditions were as diverse as the continent itself, yet many shared a common belief: Love grows stronger when supported by family, respect, and community. These customs help shape civilizations, preserved cultures through generations, and continue to influence millions of people today. Which African marriage tradition surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this journey into Africa's rich history, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to African Tales Arising, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep the stories of Africa alive. Thank you for watching.